Niccolò Machiavelli's political treatise, The Prince, 1532, remains one of the most provocative and influential works in the history of Western thought. Written during a period of intense political fragmentation and military conflict in Italy, the book offers a brutally pragmatic, often unsettling guide for rulers seeking to acquire, maintain, and expand their power. Among the most stark and memorable pieces of advice is the famous dictum, "A prince should thus have no other object or thought, nor take up any art, but war and its organization and discipline. For that is the sole art which belongs to him who commands, and it is of such virtue that it not only maintains those who are born princes, but often makes men rise to that rank from a private station. And conversely, we find that when princes have thought more of luxury than of arms, they have lost their state. The chief cause of the loss of states is the neglect of this art, and the chief cause of acquiring them is to be an adept in it." This is often summarized in the user's provided quote. War should be the only study of a prince. He should consider peace only as a breathing time which gives him leisure to contrive and furnishes as ability to execute military plans. This statement is not merely a piece of military counsel, it is the cornerstone of Machiavelli's political philosophy, revealing his deep conviction that security, stability, and success in statecraft are inextricably linked to military prowess. To understand the gravity of this counsel, one must delve into the context, justification, and profound implications of Machiavelli's relentless focus on the art of war. Machiavelli wrote The Prince against the backdrop of Renaissance Italy, a patchwork of city-states constantly vying for power, frequently invaded by foreign powers like France and Spain, and plagued by internal strife. In this volatile environment, the concept of a lasting peace was an illusion. Survival was a continuous, active struggle, where a state's military weakness was an open invitation to aggression. Machiavelli's advice is thus fundamentally responsive to the reality of his time. He saw how the reliance on mercenary forces, which he vehemently condemned, and a general lack of military organization had led to the ruin of states like Florence. For Machiavelli, a ruler who prioritizes soft living, diplomacy without force, or domestic arts over military readiness is simply committing suicide. Machiavelli elevates the study of war to an art, the sole art belonging to a commander. This implies that the art of war is not just about battlefield tactics, but a comprehensive discipline that encompasses strategy, logistics, morale, leadership, and critically, political governance. It is the fundamental competency from which all other aspects of rule flow. The maintenance of power, preservation. The primary goal of any prince, as Machiavelli repeatedly stresses, is the preservation of his state. A ruler who is militarily weak, no matter how beloved or wise in other matters, is constantly vulnerable. As soon as adversity strikes, a foreign invasion or a domestic rebellion, his state will collapse. Machiavelli is clear. The foundation of all states is good laws and good arms. But since good laws cannot exist without good arms, the focus must be on the latter. Neglecting the study of war is the chief cause of losing a state. The acquisition of power, virtù, and fortune. For those who rise from a private station, the new princes, military skill is the single most important factor. Machiavelli introduces the concept of virtù, often translated as vigor, skill, or strength of character, especially in a military or political context. It is the drive, ability, and foresight to seize opportunities granted by fortuna, fate, or luck. Military preparedness is the ultimate expression of virtù. A prince who knows how to organize and lead an army is better equipped to recognize a moment of weakness in a neighboring state or to suppress a revolt, thereby turning opportunity into conquest. Peace as a breathing time, the eternal preparation. The most radical aspect of the quote is Machiavelli's view of peace. He does not see peace as the ultimate goal or a period for solely enjoying the fruits of prosperity.
Instead, peace is a breathing time, a strategic pause used for two essential purposes: to contrive and furnish ability to execute military plans. This vision transforms the very nature of governance. The prince is always, eternally at war or preparing for it. This preparation takes two parallel forms: action and study. During peacetime, the prince must engage in activities that keep his mind and body honed for command. This includes training and discipline, maintaining his troops in constant training, keeping them well organized and disciplined, and familiarizing himself with their strengths and weaknesses. Physical conditioning. The prince must personally engage in hunting and arduous outdoor activities. Machiavelli sees this as essential not only for keeping the body fit, but also for learning the lay of the land of his own country. Knowing his own terrain is crucial for defense and for planning maneuvers. Tactical familiarity. The prince must not only know his own territory, but also study foreign lands, comparing them to his own, so that he is prepared to fight in any environment. Preparation through study, the past, and the mind. Mental preparation is equally vital. The prince must study the past, acting as a historian-strategist. Reading history accounts. The prince must constantly read historical accounts of great military leaders like Alexander the Great, Caesar, and Scipio to understand the causes of their victories and defeats. Emulation. The goal of this study is not mere academic knowledge, but emulation. The prince must ask himself, what strategy would great Commander X have used in this situation? He must use the lessons of the past to prepare for future conflicts, seeing historical battles as training exercises for his mind. In Machiavelli's philosophy, the activities of peace are indistinguishable from the activities of war. Peace is merely the period where the fighting takes place in the training field and the study, rather than on the battlefield. A prince who uses peace for idleness or luxurious distraction is actively decaying his state's capacity for survival. The moral calculus: means justify the end. Machiavelli's advice is famously amoral. He is not concerned with the justice or injustice of war, but only with its efficacy. His counsel flows from a utilitarian calculus. A prince's ultimate duty is to secure the state. If this requires the brutal, unrelenting study of war and the willingness to use violence, then so be it. Machiavelli understood human nature to be inherently self-interested and fickle. In such a world, love and loyalty are unreliable foundations for power. Only fear and respect, backed by overwhelming force, can truly sustain a prince. Military strength is the tangible manifestation of that force. A prince may be benevolent, generous, and pious in his heart, but if he is militarily incompetent, he will be ruined, and his state will suffer a far greater tragedy than any small moral compromise made to ensure its defense. The enduring legacy and modern interpretation. Machiavelli's focus on war as the sole study of a prince is a radical principle that has echoed through the centuries. It has been criticized for glorifying militarism and cynicism, yet praised for its realism. On the battlefield and in the boardroom, the dictum's influence extends far beyond military strategy. In modern terms, Machiavelli's advice can be interpreted as a demand for singular, unwavering focus on the core competency required for success. For the ruler, the modern ruler's war might include economic competition, diplomatic maneuvering, and the struggle against existential threats like terrorism or pandemics. The underlying principle remains: the chief executive must be the ultimate authority and strategist in the domain that secures the state's survival, for example, global economic position or technological dominance. For the leader, in a corporate context, the war is competition. The leader must make the sole study the core business, understanding market dynamics, competitor weaknesses, and strategic positioning. Peace is a breathing time to invest in research and development, train employees, and plan the next market campaign. The essence of the teaching is vigilance. The prince who believes peace is permanent is naive. The effective prince knows that the threat is constant, the enemy is always watching, and therefore preparation must be relentless. The heavy crown. Niccolo Machiavelli's assertion that war should be the sole study of a prince is not a celebration of violence for its own sake, but a sobering acknowledgment of the realities of power. It strips away the comforting illusions of idealism and morality in statecraft, replacing them with a cold, clear-eyed focus on security and survival. The prince who embraces this philosophy understands that his crown is not a symbol of luxury, but a helmet. He must be a student of history, a master of terrain, a disciplinarian of his forces, and a relentless strategist. He treats peace not as a vacation, but as an opportunity for more intense non-combat preparation, a time to contrive the plans that will be executed when conflict inevitably arrives. Ultimately, Machiavelli
Advice serves as the ultimate test of leadership, the willingness to bear the heavy burden of constant vigilance. The prince's reward for this singular, brutal study is the preservation of his state. The penalty for its neglect is ruin. This pragmatic and enduring dictum ensures the prince remains a vital, if controversial, manual for anyone who seeks to understand the true nature of command. I hope this analysis meets your length and content requirements. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of Machiavelli's philosophy, such as the relationship between good arms and good laws, or perhaps his views on the use of mercenary versus native troops?